I'm a deputy at a county jail, and one case still haunts me. A woman who drowned her 3 kids in the bathtub while her husband was working. The children were around 7, 4, and 5 months old. When we arrested her, the youngest was fighting for life in the ICU. Staring at her, I could only think, monsters exist. My own son was close in age to her youngest, and I couldn't fathom doing something so horrific. It stirred a mix of sorrow and fury in me. Most cases make me shake my head, but this one lingers. When told her youngest died, she didn't flinch or cry. She got life in prison, and she had a prior record with mental health issues. Likely severe depression, maybe postpartum too. When your brain cuts off dopamine, emotions and logic shut down. It's chilling how a stressed mother with no joy could decide killing her kids was the answer. The tragedy is, her real self might be buried deep inside. We had to restrain her fully after she tried to take her own life a few times. Eventually, she calmed enough to be housed with other high-risk inmates. Mental issues or not, she killed her husband's children, someone's grandkids, nephews, nieces. She has to face justice. Letting her die would have been too easy, no justice for anyone. My partner and I once chased a kidnapper and serial rapist. He lured a drunk woman into an alley, beat her, and tried to rape her. She was wearing jeans, which stopped him from succeeding. A passerby called 911, and we caught him a block away, his pants still unzipped. We got lucky. Security footage captured the whole attack, helping us close 3 other assault cases. He was homeless, preying on homeless women. It's been 18 months, and trial's coming soon. The video evidence is clear, but he's delayed things by firing his lawyer multiple times. I've thought about writing a book about my experiences, maybe a free Kindle one, but I doubt I'll follow through. One of the worst was a woman who stabbed her elderly neighbor to death with a steak knife just for asking why she was on her patio. Covered in dried blood, she grinned at me. I've never been so sure someone was utterly unhinged. Later, as a detective, I put away many for life, including a man who spent 40 years traveling the country, molesting young boys, likely leaving some in shallow graves. He was the savviest child predator I'd ever heard of, with polished tradecraft. It took months to track him down. I only pinned 1 count of sexual conduct with a minor on him, the reported crime when I got the case. I could write a book on that alone. I was obsessed. A lucky break led to his arrest, but cuffing him felt anticlimactic. Now he'll rot in prison. As a police officer, I once responded to a hospital disturbance involving a meth-fueled gang member. The first officer on scene got into a fight with him. I arrived, helped cuff him, and with 2 other officers, waited for medical clearance to book him. Suddenly, he slipped his cuffs, jumped up, and tried to fight again. We took him down, but he had superhuman strength. During the struggle, I heard a bang. His hands were on my partner's holster, finger in the trigger guard. A bullet hole was in a nearby cabinet. I checked my partner for injuries, then we carried the guy outside, shackled his legs to his hands, and booked him at county. The ER was empty by then. He didn't fully unholster the gun, just got a finger in and fired. That night stays with me. I supervised Kristen Barry in custody after she and her husband, Joseph Walsh, killed their infant son, Chance. During a drug binge, her husband beat Chance while she watched, recorded it, and said, "You're going to kill him." He shoved a baby wipe down Chance's throat, causing choking. They used pliers to pry his jaw open, breaking it and ripping out his tongue. After retrieving the wipe, they left him to die in his crib. Kristen posted on Facebook the next day about a family vacay. She never called 911, saying she didn't want to lose both her son and husband. They let Chance decompose for days, then wrapped him in garbage bags, hid him in a closet, and later buried him in a trash pile near a homeless camp before fleeing like Bonnie and Clyde. In jail, Kristen bragged about commissary money, cried in meetings about her son's death, then called Joseph her true love. She tried to intimidate or impress inmates with her crime severity, asked for a photo of Chance for prison, and wanted to write a book. She's the worst person I've met. Pure sociopathy. She gave her first child away at a Denny's for money and a used car. Her second died from an untreated infection, and she helped kill her third. She deserves the death penalty. I responded to a domestic dispute call. No answer at the door, but I heard crying. Through the window, I saw a woman in a pool of blood. I called in a possible dead body and waited for backup. Inside, we found the mother stabbed multiple times, throat slit. The father was dead in the daughter's room, stabbed and slumped over her bed. The 12-year-old daughter was naked, raped, with a puncture wound to her temple. The 16-year-old son was hiding in a closet, covered in blood, his eyes cold and evil. He killed his family and raped his sister because his mom wouldn't let him go out with friends. He got life, but it doesn't erase the scene. I'll never know who was crying. Maybe the daughter, maybe him. If I'd gone in sooner, could I have saved someone? I'm an unarmed officer in a small town. Got a 2 a.m. call for a rape in progress. Neighbors reported a girl screaming. Backup was 20 minutes away, so I went alone. A man emerged from the side of the house, a known child sex offender. He claimed he lived there, but I knew he didn't. He refused to give his name and resisted arrest for trespassing. I pepper sprayed him, used my flashlight to subdue him, and cuffed him. He cried as I dragged him to the patrol car. He'd been drunk, tried to rape his partner's daughter while she slept next to her baby, but was too intoxicated to succeed. Instead, he beat her, threatening to kill her and the baby if she screamed. He had a history of rape and child molestation. Got a weak 5-year sentence. I wish I'd hit him harder. I work traffic, so DUIs are routine. One stands out. A wrong-way DUI driver caused a crash, killing 2 and leaving 1 near death. The driver walked away, acting like the victim, arrogant, and entitled. Most DUI drivers who hurt or kill act like they're above it all, berating us with lines like, "Don't you have better things to do?" There are murderers out there. Maybe it's a defense mechanism, but it doesn't help their case. I have to stay professional, but it's tough. If they show remorse, it might just be a tactic to admit fault and strengthen their defense. People expect professionalism from law enforcement, as they should. I expect it of myself, too. In cases like the one I mentioned, it's best to let the drunk behave like a drunk while I stay professional. A jury sees that clearly. A drunk acting foolish and a cop doing their job. I have a story to share. Sunday morning shift, briefed at 7 a.m. By 7:15, we're dispatched to a stabbing at a rough bar, a dive known for shady characters, fights, and drugs. My partner and I arrive as the second or third patrol car, with ambulances already on scene. A black male lies shirtless in the street, blood pooling beneath him as paramedics work. Inside the bar, another black male has a stab wound to his stomach, conscious and getting first aid. Drunk patrons litter the street. More police, investigators, and ambulances arrive. Suspect descriptions go out over the radio, and the search begins. We stay on scene. 3 hours later, back at the station, 2 suspects are in custody, one still at large but identified. The first victim, a father of 2, died on the spot. The second survived. A third, also stabbed, was already at the ER when we arrived. All black males. The suspects were Arabic. Investigation revealed the 2 groups had been arguing and brawling all morning. The Arabic group, ejected by the bouncer, returned angry. One, armed with a knife, stabbed the first victim about 10 times just outside the bar as he stepped out. The suspect knelt and stabbed him a few more times, then entered the bar, calmly approached another black male, stabbed him in the stomach, and walked out. There, he stabbed a third victim, a black man who'd just gotten off a bus to go to work. He survived, too. Knowing this, seeing the pain left behind, I felt sick. In a debrief with a psychologist days later, I admitted imagining beating the suspect to death in his cell with my baton. That's how much I despised him. The final suspect was arrested later, possibly in Lebanon, and got a 10-year sentence. He was the knife-wielding maniac. Worst morning ever. Edit. This was in Denmark. The bar operates from 2 a.m. to noon. An article exists in Danish. Another case. A man decapitated his wife and killed his daughter and her friend. It started as a domestic call, so I expected typical violence. I was covering 2 counties alone that night. It was my second decapitation, but this one sticks. He stabbed the daughter and her friend multiple times. They died from blood loss. Better than beheading, I suppose. He didn't resist arrest, but getting him into the car was grim. He claimed his talk screen would be clean. EMS arrived, and he went wild again, trashing my car, kicking out the rear window, light bar, and radar unit. Tasing didn't stop him, but a local officer helped subdue him with mag lights. The PD took him to jail, and I handled paperwork while detectives worked the scene. Turns out, it was bath salts, our first case like that in the area. He later sued me for excessive force, which was ironic and didn't hold up. As a cop, I responded to a child not breathing call. I found a 2-year-old girl in just underwear, unconscious on a cold cement kitchen floor. Pale, freezing, foaming at the mouth, barely breathing. For 6 hours, I stayed by her side as detectives learned her mom's boyfriend. Angry she wouldn't. Stop crying. Lifted her by the waist. Slammed her to the ground twice. When the mom got out of the shower, he said the girl wasn't breathing right. The mom used the girl's asthma inhaler twice and waited 90 minutes before going to a neighbor's to call her own mom. The neighbor overheard and called 911. The girl had a basilar skull fracture causing seizures. She vomited repeatedly, lying on her back for over an hour, aspirating it. Her skull bled into her brain, her body heat drained into the floor, struggling to breathe vomit. I held her hand, stroked her hair, and watched her die, hoping her brain shut off to spare her the pain. That case still brings tears. It's one of my 3 worst calls. Edit. Paramedics arrived seconds after me and did all they could. I rode with her to the hospital, staying through ER and CT scans because, in a death investigation, an officer remains with the body until the medical examiner takes over. Her brain lacked oxygen too long. No surgery could save her. The boyfriend fled during the chaos but was caught that night, charged and convicted. It doesn't undo the damage. How do I cope? I hug my kids, have a beer with the team, remind myself that without us, people like him would walk free and then get back in the car tomorrow. Years ago, I responded to a rural disturbance involving firearms, in a county spanning nearly 1,000 square miles, with just 4 deputies on duty. For clarity, the perpetrator was a grandfather in his late 60s. The 911 caller was his son in his 30s, and the victim was the son's 7-year-old daughter, the grandfather's granddaughter. On arrival, I saw the son holding a handgun in the grandfather's mouth, who was kneeling in the front yard. My dashcam recorded everything, crucial for prosecution. I stopped, took cover behind my car door, drew my Glock 34, and gave commands. The son, in tears, screamed that the grandfather had been assaulting his daughter. I de-escalated, and he tossed the gun into the grass, raising his hands. I cuffed both for safety, not knowing the full situation, and secured the firearm. The child was inside, watching from a window. Backup was 20 minutes out. I interviewed the son on camera. He explained that he, his daughter, and the grandfather lived together after he lost his job post-Iraq. He'd borrowed the grandfather's laptop, found a suspicious folder with hundreds of explicit photos of his daughter, including her performing sexual acts on the grandfather. Enraged, he pistol-whipped the grandfather, dragged him outside, and put the gun in his mouth to avoid messing up the house. He didn't explain why he called 911 instead of shooting. I told him to stay quiet so I could get the grandfather's statement for a conviction. As a former investigator, I knew what evidence to secure. I Mirandized the grandfather, who signed a waiver and confessed to molesting his granddaughter for months, admitting to photos on his desktop, jump drives, and camera. I got a signed consent to search, though I could have gotten a warrant with the evidence. I collected the items, comforted the girl, and had backup transport the grandfather. I took the son and child for interviews. The grandfather initially pleaded not guilty but took an 80-year plea on trial day. I can't imagine the son's rage, yet he spared his father so his daughter wouldn't lose both men that day. The grandfather's cold-hearted betrayal of his own granddaughter stunned me. He deserves to suffer daily for destroying his family and an innocent child's dignity. A bumper sticker I saw sums it up. Some people are only alive because it's illegal to kill them. I believe that.